Hello, fellow kind of critics. I am Jay, and Ryan right now is out due to having chicken pox and diarrhea. I'm just kidding. He's working out some wedding details for his brother. Wish him best of luck, but he has only left me reviewing The Darkest Minds, which, even though I really wanted to see Christopher Robin, I guess this is the best I'm going to be able to give you. So after watching this, The Darkest Minds is a special case that amazes me. We can see the actors and the director and the marketing clearly pushing a product that not only screams cash grab, but it also strangely rides the coattails of the modern fixture of general cinema today, superhero movies. From an investor's point of view, getting the young adult novel craze of the last 4 years and adding the trending need for superhero movies sounds like a franchise worth millions. It's a big shame that the last thing they probably should have looked at is how these film trends have also changed in the last few years. The Harry Potter franchise insanity worked because it seemed like half the country was engaged with the literature and the films, making millions. Not to mention that very sexy marketing word that made it profitable even after all this time: merchandising. So fast forward to now, we have seen this continual fad of a franchise being solidified and adapted from these young adult novels. Many about kids who are misunderstood. Many about some kind of magical community that accepts you for your quirks. Simple wish fulfillment that encapsulates topics like romance, sex, puberty, growing up, and interpreting all these teenage emotions into these fully realized fantasy, sci-fi, and dystopian worlds. Unfortunately, translating these ideas and ambitious worlds can be a bit expensive. The Harry Potter franchise spent every penny it did to evoke similar fantastical worlds that almost felt real, even to those who didn't read them. Budgeting, marketing, social media, and fans have all conglomerated faster than what some studios are willing to spend, which means less of a budget, cutting corners, and getting some fresh young actors to replicate similar success. Fingers crossed. If they make a few million more than their own budget, more power to them. But getting sleeper hits like Hunger Games and Twilight out of these meager budgets have only made excuses for making shovelware of adaptations that feel unnatural, pandering, and even insulting to the youth of today. At the same time, adaptations to comic book superheroes have only become the geek culture mainstay at this point, and it's saturated, meaning competition can feel stiff, and if your franchise doesn't have the banners of Marvel or DC, you can't really expect billions on the first go, let's be honest. That's why risks like Logan and Deadpool try their best to turn that genre into more interesting directions. Unfortunately, this has not been the case for the latter of young adult books to film, especially for its flavor of the last few years: dystopian thrillers and apocalyptic settings. Transitions in these films start turning to ad space for what seems like music videos. Product placement becomes far more obvious. Special effects look amateurish, and the actors are all given lines on what seems like a short amount of filming time each day to cut production very quickly. All of this is very real in The Darkest Minds. Reading up some of the summary from the novel, and this movie feels tongue-in-cheek to the mythos of X-Men. Bands of youth who feel isolated and are mistreated due to their superpowers. Neat. In this case, a disease kills a majority of children throughout the world, with the ones who survive possessing psychic abilities, mind control, superior intellect. Ruby, played by Amanda Stenberg, is one of the rare cases who is capable of reading minds and controlling people through skin contact, who accidentally erases her parents' memories of her own existence and is forced into government-sanctioned labor camps that claim to be finding a cure for their abilities, but are actually killing children like Ruby who are classified as threats that cannot be controlled. What a wonderful world that seems to have some familiar thematic tones, and yet the ideas adapted are open and shut cases. Like, meaning anytime we come across an interesting idea like how major malls closing down because they were seen as youth spots are never explored. They are either A, set pieces that transition to the next plot point, or B, a background for exposition and on the nose dialogue. Every performance is flat. We get a two-person romance between Ruby and her hunky slab of concrete, played by Harris Dickinson, who has his own emotional baggage that is contradicted with a face that is either concerned, annoyed, or horny for Ruby, which creates this dry love interest that never feels genuinely concerned for his friend, rather feels entitled to her emotions because he already assumes she feels this way. Not to mention using his psychic abilities to bring her to his arms. Hashtag that's still rape. But wait, there's more. We get a black sidekick played by Skyland Brooks and Maya Sech as the youngest child of the group who can use electricity, and she's Asian. Brooks has super intelligence, and yet it does feel weird knowing that someone from the public relations side of this film would applaud this as more African American actors being put to work in Hollywood. Yet the context is that he's playing someone who is smart and capable, yet is only smart and capable because that's their superpower, and without it, I guess they have average intellect. This is supported by the fact that many scenes have Stenberg being called stupid and dumb, since she is hiding the fact that she has stronger abilities rather than having super intelligence that Brooks' character possesses. Okay, but enough digressing. The execution of this film's message is sloppy and has become an icon on similar adaptations from works like Divergent, Maze Runner, and The Lightning Thief. It's okay to be different. Fight for something you stand for, and you should always be who you want to be. Admirable messages that are not just a trend for these kind of films, but Darkest Mind never comes to this point until it becomes part of someone's obligatory speech and narration. The Darkest Mind could have done what Logan did to its stuffed genre and removed the restraints that makes for daring and subversive entertainment, especially since it could actually help out and make the youth understand these kinds of struggles. By this point, I know you might think that I'm going way too hard in this movie, and maybe I should just avoid them and let the readers and teens of today enjoy their fun. Oh no, I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't rude about it. Every filming choice, every piece of dialogue, every action sequence was absolutely hilarious. Without the foundation of sound, acting, cinematography, delivery, and heart working together, the emotion and edge it tries to execute is amazing. Imagine a PG-13 rape scene being performed with a fogged up camera that looks like a PSA commercial from the 90s, only for it to be completely forgotten in its context throughout the rest of the runtime. Imagine choreography from grown men with third-rate plastic replicas of blasters from the New Hope creating a single action sequence in less than 5 minutes while two young adults have a power fan against blowing on their hair and on their flawless faces. Darkest Minds wants you to take all of this very seriously, while it counts the money and watches everyone commit themselves to raising their arm, as if we didn't just do that in the Hunger Game trilogy. This will be a movie I cannot wait to see on DVD with some friends and just sit in awe, knowing that the book is likely 100 times better, and perplexed that the effort placed was because they had to put those X-Men effects to good use, since Phoenix has likely been shot down in the barn. 2 stars out of 6. Let's try to make something like Harry Potter, but without expecting too much. Please?